Australian Sports Sedan Championship is being decided. It is the last and final round, and the cars are forming up on the grid now.
26 sports sedans warming up now for the second of their 2 8-lap heats at Sandown that will decide the Australian Sports Sedan Championship for this year. And some work to be done by some of the drivers as we see them form up on the grid, with Jameson coming in and now taking pole position, having come first in the first race from Brian Smith, Attard, and then Bailey. And Kerry Bailey is the man who was on pole position but had trouble during the first race. So to grab the championship that he no doubt thinks is his, he needs to do some hard work. He's ahead of that third row of Jolly and Des Wall, similar Toyota Supra, and then as you can see, an enormous variety of cars. BMW M3, a fairly standard sort of car for the category, from a Nissan Stanza Coupe, which is as hot as a stove, GTS Monaro, and an old Isuzu Bolette, and then a Commodore VP, Chevrolet Monza. You couldn't get greater variety, and enormous difference too in the way that they're treated, because the ones that are really quick and that are up the front have all had the engines moved back, are running rear transaxles from single-seaters. The engine's pretty much adjacent to the driver, so they're almost a single-seater with a very light tubular frame around them and an aluminium body just tacked on, stuck on almost, as they form up now, and there's 26 of them.
All of that you've just described generally driven by about 600 horsepower.
Yes, indeed. Chevy engines, the preferred choice, anything up to 6 litres. And if you haven't got 6 litres, well, you might go for 4 cylinders and throw a turbo on it and wind the boost up to some monstrous level. One way or another, it means it's light, it's twitchy, it's fast, and it's dangerous, and it's a sports sedan, and it's ready for this 8-lapper of the Australian Championship, the second of 2 heats, and Smith getting very edgy there on the front row, the outside of the front row, pole position. Doesn't get away well. Kerry Bailey does from the second row, blast into second place. He's out after Smith, who's got things under control now, and you can see Bailey's Supra bouncing around. Looks as though it's a bit stiff in the springs, but it's got tons of mumbo and a driver that knows how to use it.
There should be a cleaner race than the previous one. The weather's a bit more settled now. They know where they're going. They've got this morning's experience. They've reset their chassis a little bit, and the brake that Smith's got at the moment is one that won't stay with him.
That BMW is doing very well. It just headed the second pack there. Jones McLean Motorsport entry, Cameron McLean, and really in a very highly modified field, a fairly standard car that's being well driven and going better, probably in a better place than it deserves to be in.
Jameson had problems off the line. He pulled second gear very early because he's worried about the wheel spin, and that's what put him back to third place.
It sounds like a Pete Gagan strategy. Now just pull that here and it'll solve all the problems, and that's when the field went past. So there's the BMW M3, and making very good use of it indeed. Very good use. That finish belies the modification of the car. It was 7th fastest qualifier yesterday, averaging 137.5 kilometres an hour off the start line. For that standing lap, led by Brian Smith and still being led by him, with Kerry Bailey in behind him and threatening all the time. Smith is the man who's generally been able to pull it together well, in the sense that he doesn't seem to have as wild a car as Kerry Bailey and some of the other sports sedan. It is a rebuilt, well, it is a new car. Looks very much like his old one, but it is a brand new car, and it's not spectacular in looks or even seemingly in go. Yet the veteran West Australian driver gets some extremely good results out of it, very consistent results. Kerry Bailey with trouble earlier on. A left front tyre was rubbing on the bodywork, so the tyre survived, but some of the bodywork didn't. He started to shred it and throw it away. That's Des Wall in 26, a similar Supra to the one that's in second place at the moment. But as you can see, Bailey has got things back into shape. Des Wall's a hard charger too, bringing up the tail of this bunch. It has an enormous amount of power at its command, and storms up to frightening speeds as they go down the straight, metal flapping and banging and things vibrating and shaking, and they really are very harsh motor cars indeed. Anybody used to a sedan, you'd think your world was caving in around you if you were to travel in one of these rattly, reverberatory devices, but my goodness, you'd find it very hard to go faster.
just an 8-lap race. They're now settling down to the tactics, with the car in front warding off the car behind having to decide where on this particular race he's going to have a go and get that lead position. So you'll just watch the battle line itself up. It looks as though he's keen to sort of get him before the start straight. So he should follow him down through the curves this time and try again to get himself set up to come up off the straight and take the lead position on the left-hander after the front straight.
Smith just leads himself out there to the outside of track, just lets it float out there, makes Kerry Bailey work his way around the outside. This is where they contacted in an earlier race. Smith then was coming through on Bailey, and Bailey came across on him. They were similar sides of the track to where they were then, except that their order was reversed. But this time Smith under control, but Bailey really tucking in and looking as though he's going to unleash all of the 600 horsepower in the Supra.
Jameson's close enough that he's hoping there's going to be a little bit of a touch ahead of him and he can take advantage of it.
Bailey not down yet. Boy, he was close as they were hauling back from something like 240 kilometres an hour. And Bailey there, so close to a touch, then having to tuck in behind, and that was really well done. To get out of the way so quickly and cleanly, because it seemed he was in there and he wouldn't have had the time to adjust, but he did. And Smith continues on, seemingly unflustered by a lot of pressure from Kerry Bailey in car 1.
Bailey's got to stick to his game plan. He's really got to stay with that shot on the front straight, because he just doesn't have the car to stay with the Alpha through the curves. Again, Jameson's there all the time, but not looking aggressive, just looking as though he's waiting for a problem from the two lads in front of him. Brian
Smith just covered the inside line there. He's taking the classic line generally, but sometimes he's covering, and there he let Bailey range up on the outside, because he said, well, if you can go through there and deal with the next corner, then you're a better man than I am. Now on the straight, though, he hugs it tight and he doesn't give anything away. But this is a busy, hard time for him as Bailey gets serious.
Trouble for Bailey is Smith's very quick off that corner onto the front straight.
Averaging 148.7 kilometres an hour now, as they start to thread their way through traffic, completing 4 laps halfway in this 8-lapper, the second of 2 that will decide the Australian Championship for this year. And the order, remember, from the first race was Brian Smith from Barry Jameson, Kerry Bailey, sorry, it was Jameson from Smith, from Attard, and then Bailey in 4th place. So Smith in 1st or 2nd would take the championship. But Bailey doesn't want to let him finish anywhere but behind the storming Supra back there in 2nd place. Jameson too, well placed, and again he's got a hell of a lot of incentive, because if he can get in front of Bailey, and if Bailey can be kept back by Smith, then the championship is in the is up for grabs.
It will all be decided by getting past the back marker at the wrong place for one of them. In the meantime, the same thing's happening there. A bit of a slide from the Supra, trying to get that power down. He cannot match the Alpha in that particular position. And when his greater power comes into play, they're into the braking area, and again, he's not as well balanced as his chassis as is the Alpha. So very frustrating for him. No, wrong. Again, he's trying in the wrong places to upset the Alpha. There's the back marker problem. One of them will make a mistake, or a misjudgment, not a mistake, but a misjudgment, and getting through on one of these back markers could decide the whole race.
One of the advantages of a car like this is that you've got so much power, and the thing picks back up to speed so quickly that lifting off is not a big disincentive. It's not like a little production car or something where if you lift off now, you've lost speed for the next 30 seconds or so. Jameson round the outside, but not able to pull ahead of 3rd place where he still is. But as you say, Howard Marsden, my goodness, the traffic is diabolical at the moment, and there's nothing to do but nose to tail through there, leaving the leader to find the way through, and all of them hauled back in their speed onto the straight. But now Brian Smith starting to pick it up in the Alpha number 5. He stormed down past the start-finish line. Nice little lead over Kerry Bailey, and then Barry Jameson in 3rd place. In behind them, there's Wall in 26, Jolly in 3, McLean in 13, Emily in 20, and Leo in 85 up to the top 8.
Yes, all seem to have got through those back markers better than the front 3 cars, so he's joined on to make a 4th car train.
You saw the fastest lap there, done by the race leader. He's certainly not done it in the last lap or two, because he's far too busy trying to find his way through all these slow cars. And doing it well. Bailey senses a chance, but it's too quick over there, and it's too single line to stick his nose in there and to risk everything with another contact with the man that he collided with in the earlier race and came out second best. That was Bailey, who spun, was able to rejoin, but ultimately finished only 4th in the race, where Smith came on and took 2nd. Ooh, that's a tight one.
He's trying every line that he can, but he's got to watch Jameson behind him. Jameson just doesn't have the power of the other two. He is in there just shadowing and waiting for that mistake, with Des Wall and Mazda coming in behind him, as we said before. Coming
round to complete the penultimate lap with a whisker over the lot of them, almost nothing as they went over the start-finishing line, a very small part of a second. Onto the final lap now. Kerry Bailey, Alfa Romeo, but Chev engine. Brian Smith, the Alfa with the Chev engine. Kerry Bailey with the Toyota Supra with Chev engine. Barry Jameson in car number 45. And yet a different type of car, EB Falcon, but 6-litre Chev engine. So, Bailey, having failed to do it up the back there, probably has only got, if there's a big gap left open by Smith, somewhere around the back here, but failing that, it's on the front straight, and it's an absolute drag race to the finishing line. Watch Bailey's line as he tries to optimise it, not to try and get through before the corner, but in fact to Smith there, put on a little bit of a squirt just to deter Bailey from any thoughts of something under brakes. So now Kerry Bailey trying to hook it up and to get busy, but if the last 7 laps is any guide, he won't be able to do it. So they head to the finishing line with Brian Smith in car number 5, the Alfa, with Chev engine, heading Kerry Bailey in the Toyota Supra with the Chevrolet engine, and the 3 of them, Barry Jameson in 3rd place in 45, flashing across the line, separated by about half a second with the West Australian, though. Brian Smith jubilant with victory in that second race, with 2nd place in the first one, and therefore the Australian Sports Sedan champion for 1994.